like if you found the video valuable. The rain had been falling steadily for hours, casting a misty veil over the cobblestone streets of Bellmere. Tucked between the faded bookstore and the florist's stood a small clock shop, its windows fogged with time and memory. Above the brass doorknob, the wooden sign read simply, Hollis and Sons, timekeepers since 1892. But there hadn't been a and Sons for decades, just Hollis. Evelyn Moore stood outside the door, umbrella in hand, heart racing like the minute hand on a neglected wall clock. It had been 15 years since she'd last stepped foot in this town. 15 years since she'd left it, and him, behind. Inside, the rhythmic tick-tock of a dozen clocks welcomed her as she pushed the door open. The scent of old wood and oil greeted her, and so did the sight of Hollis Lane, bent over a timepiece, magnifier perched on one eye. Still making time stand still, I see, Evelyn said, her voice trembling. Hollis looked up slowly. For a moment, he said nothing, then stood, removing the magnifier. You always did have good timing. They stood facing each other, the years folding and unfolding between them like an accordion. 15 years ago, they had been young, foolish, and full of dreams. Evelyn, a writer with fire in her heart, had yearned for the world beyond Bellmere. Hollis, bound by duty to the family shop after his father's stroke, had begged her to stay. I can't live a half-life in a town that's asleep, she had said back then. You call this asleep, I call it home. They'd parted with angry words and aching hearts. Now, Evelyn looked older, wiser. The fire in her eyes had not dimmed, but it had softened. Hollis, with flecks of gray in his hair and deeper lines around his mouth, looked settled. Not happy, not sad, just still. I was in town for a reading, Evelyn said, her fingers brushing the glass casing of a grandfather clock. I saw the shop and I couldn't just walk past. I'm glad you didn't. Silence hung like dust motes in the air. Then Hollis turned, reaching under the counter. He brought out a small wooden box, polished smooth. I kept this. Evelyn opened it gently. Inside was a silver pocket watch, hers. On the back was the engraving, for the moments we almost had. You left it that night, Hollis said. Figured I'd return it if fate ever gave me the chance. Tears welled in her eyes. I was so angry when I left. At you. At myself. But I've thought about you more times than I can count. Same, he admitted. Every tick of every clock here has whispered your name. The shop felt smaller now, warmer somehow. As the storm outside quieted, so did the noise inside their hearts. You never married? She asked. No. No one ever matched the girl who hated small towns but loved black coffee and poetry about constellations. She smiled. Still observant. Still in love, he replied, softly. Her breath caught. Hollis? He stepped closer. Evelyn, I don't expect anything. But I've spent my life fixing timepieces, never quite managing to fix the one thing I wanted most. You think time can be fixed? He smiled. Not fixed, but maybe rewound. They stood inches apart now, the clock shop humming around them. Stay a little while, Hollis whispered. Even if it's just for one more moment. Evelyn didn't answer with words. She stepped into his arms, resting her head against his chest. The clocks ticked on, but for the first time in years, time felt like it was on their side.